I'm Liz Faublis, and this is Currents. The HHS mandate once again under fire as over 40 religious institutions file a hefty lawsuit. All-night prayer and fasting. Haitians at one Brooklyn parish celebrate their country's independence.
Through fasting, you will still achieve that joyful celebration because you're giving up something for others, for the Lord, for others who don't have.
In the midst of all the clamor, confusion, and noise, World Communications Day focuses on silence.
Well, it's important that the church use the modern means of communications that are available to secular industry as well in order to magnify the message of Jesus Christ, kind of cut through all the noise that's part of our daily lives.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Breaking news tonight: 43 Catholic dioceses, schools, hospitals, and other institutions filing a federal lawsuit to stop 3 government agencies from implementing a mandate that would require them to cover contraception and sterilization in their health plans, better known as the Health and Human Services controversial contraception mandate. Now, 12 of the lawsuits were filed simultaneously on Monday in various U.S. courts around the country. Catholic universities, including Notre Dame and the Catholic University of America, joined in the lawsuits. Among the defendants, HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, Labor Secretary Hilda Solis, and Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner. Cardinal Timothy Dolan, whose Archdiocese of New York is among the plaintiffs, said the suit is a compelling display of the unity of the Church in defense of religious liberty. Cardinal Dolan said negotiations with the administration and with Congress have not remedied the issue, adding the Church must now turn to the courts. Elsewhere, this month, United States bishops announced that the 14 days from June 21st to July 4th will be dedicated to a nationwide fortnight for freedom. Well, this special period of prayer, catechesis, and public action was established to address government actions that prevent institutions and individuals from acting in accordance with deeply held moral beliefs. Some notable and outspoken church leaders on this issue will be in attendance, including Archbishop William Lori of Baltimore, who will celebrate a special Mass on June 21st. The head of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops Committee on Religious Freedom, Lori took a leading role in the Church's battle over the requirement that insurers provide free birth control even if religiously affiliated employers such as Catholic hospitals and universities are not forced to pay for it. Now, also part of the program, Cardinal Donald Wuerl, Archbishop of Washington, who will be the principal celebrant at a July 4th Mass, and Archbishop Charles Chaput of Philadelphia will be the homilist. Next up, Pope Benedict XVI has urged American Catholics to strive for greater unity. He spoke Friday to the last of 15 groups of U.S. bishops who were making their periodic ad limina visits to the Vatican. He called for solidarity, especially among ethnic groups and between bishops and religious orders, in order to carry out the Church's mission in an increasingly hostile society and to counter the forces of disaggregation within the Church. Benedict echoed his earlier warnings about the dangers of secularization and state curbs on religious freedom and encouraged bishops to strengthen their communication and cooperation with religious orders. He also noted efforts by various lay movements in the U.S. to encourage Catholics to move forward together, speaking with one voice in addressing the urgent problems of the present moment. Well, parts of Italy rocked by 2 tragedies over the weekend, and the devastation was a big focus of Pope Benedict's Regina Coeli on Sunday. With thousands gathered in St. Peter's Square, the Pope prayed for the victims of a deadly bombing that struck outside a school in southern Italy. A 16-year-old student died in the blast. The Pope offered his condolences to that young victim.
Io ci devo purtroppo ricordare le ragazze e le ragazze della scuola di Brindisi, coinvolti ieri in un vile attentato. Preghiamo insieme per i feriti, tra cui alcuni gravi, e specialmente per la giovane Melissa, vittima innocente di una brutale violenza, e per i suoi familiari che sono nel dolore.
And no word yet on who was behind that attack. Pope Benedict also prayed for those who were affected by a magnitude 6.0 earthquake in the northern part of the country on Sunday. Thousands of people in the region huddled in tents and cars as more than 100 aftershocks rattled the area. 7 people were killed, 50 injured, and centuries-old cultural sites were heavily damaged. Meantime, the Pope called on Catholics to pray next Thursday for the Catholic Church in China. Back in May 2007, Benedict sent a letter to the 12 million Catholics in China, marking a World Day of Prayer for Catholics in the country. Iran's ambassador to the Holy See prepares to return to his homeland. And as we hear from Rome Reports, he plans on using his valuable experience in Rome to make a difference.
For the past 3 years, Ali Akbar Nazari has served as Iran's ambassador to the Holy See. But now he's leaving this position to return to his home country and serve in the national parliament. Nazari says his time in Rome will help him to work better with religious minorities in Iran.
I have been able to successfully improve bilateral relations, which was also recognized by the Vatican authorities. On the basis of my new role in the House of Parliament, I'll try to improve this bilateral relationship again, and I'm happy to do this.
Iran has a population of roughly 78 million people, 98% of which is Muslim. The remaining 2% is made up of Christians, Jews, Zoroastrian, and Baha'i. The country's protection of religious freedom has been criticized for allegedly allowing intimidation and harassment of religious minorities. However, the ambassador says that these reports do not accurately reflect the situation in his country.
We promote the rights of citizens in the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the rights of citizens are guaranteed. Also, the rights of citizens of other religions are also guaranteed. Iran is a successful model for peaceful cohabitation for followers of different religions.
To make sure that these religious minorities have a voice in government, the House Parliament dedicates 5 seats for their representation.
In Iran's House of Parliament, there are representatives from the Jewish and Christian communities, and I will work to collaborate with the representatives of these religious communities.
Ambassador Nazari will return to his country just in time for the beginning of the parliament session on May 27th. His hope is that Iran's next ambassador will continue to improve interreligious dialogue, something that's been a main goal for both Iran and the Vatican ever since both established diplomatic relations about 50 years ago.
And turning now to the issue of same-sex marriage. In recent years, the debate has grown into a nationwide controversy, reverberating in the halls of Congress, at the White House, in our churches, and even at our dinner tables. Well, parishioners at one Massachusetts Catholic parish that chose to voice their own opinion on the issue fears they may be in danger. Stephen Giat, Director of Pastoral Services at St. Francis Xavier Parish, says they have received threats of arson and other harassing messages after posting a sign with the church's position on same-sex marriage, which reads simply, "Two men are friends, not spouses." The message went viral. Local media took an interest, and it even ended up on Facebook. Giat says the nasty telephone calls began to pour in every few minutes, including one saying that the church should be burned down. Opponents of the message began posting their own signs on or near the parish property. Giat said that the sign was intended to clarify Catholic beliefs after President Obama's recent support for redefining marriage. The church sign has since been taken down, but Giat continues to stand by the message as one that should be brought into the public square. Now, separately, the nation's largest civil rights group, the NAACP, endorsed gay marriage on Saturday. The thumbs up gives a boost to the movement to legalize same-sex nuptials, despite reservations expressed by some black ministers. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People passed the resolution at its board meeting in Miami, saying that civil marriage is a civil right and a matter of civil law. Maintaining its support for marriage equality is deeply rooted in the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution and equal protection of all people. 3 state legislators have voted this year to legalize gay marriage: New Jersey, Maryland, and Washington State. 6 other states, including New York and Connecticut, have legalized gay marriage, and a handful of others recognize so-called civil unions. Well, leaks at the Vatican, well, that's what a new book is claiming, and the Vatican is speaking out. Now, a little background for you. The scandal erupted earlier this year with the publication His Holiness, which highlighted leaked memos alleging corruption and mismanagement in Holy See affairs and internal squabbles over its efforts to comply with international anti-money laundering norms. Now, well, on Saturday, the publication resurfaced with alleged reproductions of confidential letters and memos to and from Benedict and his personal secretary. The Vatican says the new book is criminal and violates the Pope's right to privacy. The Vatican also warned that it would take legal action against those responsible. And while the Vatican takes action to protect its rights to privacy, it is also trying to find ways to eradicate yet another basic human rights concern, the rapid growth of human trafficking. Rome Reports has more on that.
Human trafficking is a problem that affects people from all over the world. So to fight it, it makes sense to bring together an international team of experts. The Pontifical Council for Peace and Justice did just that by inviting church representatives, ambassadors, NGOs, law enforcement, and a victim to look into how they can all combine their resources.
Trafficking affects people around the world. There's no borders. Same with law enforcement. We work with our partners to try to combat human trafficking.
This is the police working with the church to deal with a problem in society. Okay, and it's a recognition by both sides that they can't do it all alone.
On a global scale, the internet has made human trafficking easier for criminals. While remaining virtually anonymous, they can coordinate the purchase, sale, and even transportation of their victims and victimizers. In some cases, it's all done under the disguise for jobs that seem too good to be true.
These crimes are being perpetrated on the internet. Victims are being recruited. People who wish to engage in these crimes are being recruited as well. Law enforcement has worked together so that globally we can attack the problem.
Even though most people associate human trafficking with prostitution, experts say that's not the case at all. In some countries, people are forced to work for free in lucrative businesses, like the deep fishing market. The reason behind this is that it's often not easy to legitimately recruit people for that dangerous field. And when it comes to prostitution, big world events like the World Cup pose a challenge.
Human trafficking is happening every day throughout the world. During special events, you may see an influx of people who have been recruited for human trafficking. But when that event's over, those people are still being victimized in other areas.
So by combining resources, these experts hope they can work together and bring those responsible to justice, while also helping victims reclaim their lives.
In Florida, a group of atheists gathered in a small town to protest the erection of a monument of the Ten Commandments in front of the Bradford County Courthouse. Opponents say the Christian monument sits on a county government-owned land and violates the First Amendment's Establishment Clause. Religious citizens of the small town were also present and vastly outnumbered the atheist protesters, forming prayer circles, singing hymns, and waving their Bibles at passing cars. The $22,000 monument was built through private funding and the sponsorship of businessman Joe Anderson for the community of Stark, and dedicated during a National Day of Prayer ceremony. And finally tonight, the London Underground received quite a gift this Lenten season. An anonymous artist who found the train trips to be a great opportunity for prayer created a special version of the Stations of the Cross in the tube. It's called Stations of the King's Cross, as you see here, and is intended to help travelers in the UK Underground pray the way of the cross. The artwork was created with 14 paper-cut illustrations that have been published in booklet form. Stay tuned, there's more currents ahead. Most parents know there is no greater joy than having their children in their lives. Some couples, however, must deal with the pain of not being able to conceive a child. Infertility issues can weigh heavily on a marriage, not to mention the personal disappointment each person in the relationship must contend with daily. Well, for those couples, special prayers are often offered, and that was the case at St. Catherine of Siena in New York. There, Bishop Joseph Perry offered a mass and blessing amid relics of St. Gianna, patron saint of all mothers, for couples suffering from infertility issues.
Gianna is truly a shining star in the heavens for our times. For whatever reason, women can pray to God invoking her name, and those struggling with infertility or other apprehensions or difficulties with conceiving or with pregnancy.
Tonight we had the veneration of the relics of Saint Gianna. Saint Gianna was a physician in the last 100 years who decided the best course of action was for her to lay down her life for her unborn child. And though she died in delivery, her daughter lived, and for that heroic action, she's remembered in the church.
Infertility is one of the most painful things that a couple can face, and so many are left feeling like they have nowhere to turn or there's no hope. Tonight's Mass is the Catholic Church's way of saying we stand with you, we know what you are suffering, we are here to support you in prayer, in fellowship, in love, and to let them know that there are alternatives to in vitro that are completely in line with church teaching.
I think one of the gifts of the church is to be able to bring comfort to people's lives and a sense of assurance in the midst of some really profound difficulties and struggles in their lives. That there is a faith dimension that can help them work that out, to see God's love and care for them. Let us thank God with those of you who have received favors from God through her intercession. May we be intent upon bestowing life on one another, life that is offered by Jesus Christ.
Last year we attended the St. Gianna Mass, and we conceived our little son right after the Mass, so we were very grateful. We wanted to show our appreciation and offer a sign of hope for other couples who are hoping to conceive.
I definitely believe that our prayer today to the intercession of St. Gianna Beretta Mola will definitely be heard. We went up to the altar and we held her relic, and I felt a warmth in our hands when we were holding the relic together, hand in hand with our wedding bands. I think no matter what the response is to our prayers, that I pray for peace, and I definitely feel that we'll be leaving today with peace and hope and trust in the Lord.
We've had a pretty long journey in trying to conceive ourselves. We've been at this for 3 years and have just found a lot of heartache and disappointment for a very long time. So we're hoping and praying for some miracles to happen for us.
May we always benefit from the richness of life. Let us praise God for such a woman as Gianna Beretta Mola.
And stay tuned, there's more currents ahead. They prayed and fasted all night in honor of Haiti Flag Day.
We're going to be praying throughout the whole night until we start from 9 p.m. until 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well, they came, they prayed, and they fasted in the name of their country's independence. Haitian churchgoers filled the pews at St. Thérèse of Lisieux Parish in Brooklyn to commemorate Haitian Flag Day. And rather than a day of lively pomp and circumstance, they chose a more spiritual observance of their heritage, an entire night dedicated to prayer and fasting, a show of quiet pride, unity, and individual liberty.
We are celebrating Haitian Flag Day today. Haiti was the first black independent republic, and all Haitians are very proud of our flag. The colors are red and blue, and on it it says L'Union fait la force, which means in unity there is strength. Our flag reminds us of our independence, our fight for independence back in 1804.
There's a large Haitian population in this community, and a lot of people here had families that were impacted by the earthquake. So when the earthquake took place, everyone was impacted.
Financial times are bad for everyone, and imagine when you're not only responsible for your family here, but you're also responsible for many families in Haiti. Haitian people love to celebrate. We celebrate all the time. We really thought this year, let us really try something different and really put our country into fasting and prayer.
Through fasting, you will still achieve that joyful celebration because you're giving up something for others, for the Lord, for others who don't have.
It's not just we choose not to eat. The spirit of fasting is really to help us to become holier while we help others. We're going to be praying throughout the whole night until we start from 9 p.m. until 6 o'clock in the morning. It is so good to be together in prayer because we feel like so much united with Christ and with one another. You don't even want to let go of that experience. This is why you see those kind of masses, they go for hours and nobody see where the time goes because we are so empowered. I think I'm going to make it till 6 o'clock.
We have a vivacious community. We know it will not be as difficult to stay up until 6 o'clock.
But here in our parish, we are getting involved in trying to help some orphanages in Haiti. But we believe this is not enough. We need to do those things, but also we need to pray because we know that prayer is what is the key to everything, the key that can open all kind of doors.
I'm not talking about conversion, change of religion. I'm talking about conversion, a change of attitude, a change of the way we think, change in behavior. You know, as humans, we tend to be very egoistic, so to speak. You know, the world revolves around us. Well, when the world revolves around you, you see very little of what goes around, what is happening around you. So tonight we're really calling on all Haitians to not only look at themselves and their immediate families, but look at the greater family that God has given us.
Stay tuned. There's more currents after the break. The Brooklyn Diocese hosts its 21st World Communications Day, and attendees rediscover silence.
So to understand how silence plays a role in what we do on a day-to-day basis and how to continue communicating that to the larger world.
On September 29, 2011, the Pontifical Council for Social Communications announced the theme for 2012, Silence and Word, Path of Evangelization. Well, we were reminded of that profound theme during Brooklyn Diocese World Communications Day. Guest speakers and engaging panel discussions sought to explain how popular social media like Twitter and Facebook, and yes, even the tablet notebooks and smartphones we can't seem to live without, can be used not only to teach us the importance of silence in our lives, but also how to use these tools to spread the gospel.
Today we're here celebrating World Communications Day, which has been declared by the Vatican now for over 40 years, a day in which the Church reflects on communications responsibility it has, on the communications media, and how we can forge a better partnership with them.
One of the important ways in which values are really transmitted through the arts. This is the World Communications Day luncheon that's hosted by the Diocese of Brooklyn this year, honoring Christopher Ruddy of Newsmax and Joe Camp of Grassroots Films.
We want to change the way people think, and we want to change the way people feel.
I've been preaching against the media because, you know, the media has such negative statements on so many things, especially if you're Catholic. And when Grassroots Films was formed, I think, you know, God maybe was saying to me, well, do something about it.
But we don't produce ourselves as a Catholic company because the moment I do that, the people that I'm trying to evangelize to won't pay attention to what I'm trying to say.
I came here today, I was invited through DeSales Media, came here today to understand how the grassroots advocacy work that we're doing in the Diocese of Brooklyn could learn from, network with, really to kind of use media, social media, understand how we can kind of bridge the gap between human connection and what we're doing at the grassroots level and in the mass media world to kind of spread that, and also to understand how silence plays a role in what we do on a day-to-day basis and how to continue communicating that to the larger world.
I saw a few news stories the day that the communications message came out, and the pullout of the message was, the Pope talks about silence. It seems so counterintuitive in a communications message, right? I stopped the blog post I was writing to retweet the Pope on Twitter before going back to the blog post. And then, but before I went back to the blog post, I went to Facebook to note it.
I think that there are the older generations that are part of the churches as well. I think that they're not as necessarily in tune to the social media, perhaps those that are still looking for a kind of paper communication.
So just if you don't mind, show of hands, how many folks are on Facebook? And how many folks are on Facebook on behalf of their parish or a religious organization?
Well, it's important that the church use the modern means of communications that are available to secular industry as well in order to magnify the message of Jesus Christ, kind of cut through all the noise that's part of our daily lives.
Obviously, communicating the gospel means is a great responsibility, communicating to the public. We need to use all the modern means at our disposal, which I think we do in our own diocese, the print, the TV, and all of the internet things that are available today. St. Paul, in his own day, went to the Areopagus in Athens, the place where people communicated, where they debated, and he went there and he started preaching the gospel. And if he was here today, he'd use all the things that we're using.
And in the words of Pope Benedict XVI, silence is not presented simply as an antidote to the constant and unstoppable flow of information that characterizes society today, but rather as a factor that is necessary for its integration. Well, the importance of World Communications Day resonated throughout various faiths. On Sunday, tens of thousands of ultra-Orthodox Jewish men attended a rally at Citi Field to address the dangers of the internet and how to use modern technology in a religiously responsible way. Now, women were not permitted to attend the meeting. However, it was broadcast live to audiences of women in schools and event halls in ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods. Well, that is all for this edition of Currents. Be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. You can also connect with us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching and have a good night.